Thank you very much. Proinsias DeRossa, I'm a member of the Labour Party and the Socialist Group in the European Parliament. I think perhaps 2 or 3 years ago, if you had this panel, or indeed any other similar panel from diverse political parties, you would have immediately have started with a dispute about whether or not there is such thing as climate change, or whether it's going to have the effects that one would have claimed at the time. But now the science overwhelmingly shows us that in fact we have a serious problem. And so you'll get very little dispute from certainly mainstream political parties that there is a serious problem to be addressed. The question is how to address it. I mean, there are social implications, there are economic implications, there are humanitarian implications, there are implications for peace and stability. If we don't deal with it, there are also implications if we do deal with it. All of these questions also arise when we do attempt to deal with it. When we talk about a wobble in Europe, I think we have to distinguish between the Commission, the Council and the Parliament. The Parliament indeed has thrashed out a deal in the Parliament with the Commission and with the Council, which sets what is known as the 2020-20 deal. And indeed within that there is a commitment that if we can achieve it at the Copenhagen conference, we'll go for 30% cut in emissions. And you know that if we can achieve that, but in order for Europe to do it, it needs to be able to get that deal binding across the globe. I mean, it needs to be, and it needs to be done in a way which doesn't impoverish the already poor, both in developed countries like within the European Union, and indeed even more impoverished people in the rest of the world. So we need to get the balance right in terms of dealing with the issue of climate change and ensuring that we have a habitable planet for our children and our grandchildren and children 20 years or 30 years down the road, and at the same time using incentives and indeed law to ensure that the targets we set ourselves are met, while we replace jobs that are going to die as a result of climate change strategies, that we replace them with jobs which are sustainable into the future. So it's a huge agenda, and one that we have to be serious about. And I think the European Union is ideally placed to do that, because the European Union is a transnational entity which has the capacity to make law binding on all member states.